Well, what is being considered one of the most far-reaching housing reform bills in decades is very close to becoming a law this morning. The House approved the measure, and the Senate could do the same by the end of the week. President Bush yesterday said he would sign the bill after suggesting earlier the possibility of a veto. The bill will offer assistance to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, plus ensure up to $300 billion in new loans for struggling homeowners. Joining us to talk about the implications of the bill, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, a Republican representative from Minnesota. Congresswoman, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Last time we had you on regarding this topic, you said that this broad housing rescue bill made the American taxpayer the chump that would be the backstop for this bill. Do you still feel that way now that the president is on board?
I absolutely do feel that way. Yesterday, the Democrat-controlled Congress passed an unprecedented bill because what this will do is essentially give the Treasury Secretary a blank check to virtually draw down $5 trillion on the taxpayer bank account. This is absolutely unprecedented.
Now, you said one of the key things to this bill was to just take a break, get all the information before any of the votes were cast. Now, how good of a job do you think Congress did in accomplishing that?
Oh, they didn't do it at all. The Congress received this bill 16 hours before we took the vote. It's 694 pages. The Republicans weren't even allowed to offer our own version of the bill, nor were we allowed to offer amendments. Debate was abbreviated. This bill was shoved through the Congress by the Democrats, and it's really unfortunate because the taxpayers are on the hook for this unprecedented bailout of over $300 billion. Plus, it creates an ongoing revenue stream for political groups like Acorn, La Raza, to the tune of over $700 million. This is a bad bill all the way around. I would call on the president to veto this bill because the votes are there in the House for us to sustain the president's veto.
Now that you mention that, though, the bill does have a certain amount of momentum. It's just too much momentum at this point to stop it from going through.
You're right. The bill does have momentum. And I think that's part because the president said that he would sign the bill as opposed to veto the bill. But there are so many negative aspects to this bill. It is worth taking a few more looks at. Again, the unprecedented nature of giving the Treasury Secretary potentially the right to nationalize or socialize Freddie and Fannie. This is unprecedented, and it's important that we do take a breather, that we step back, and I really call on the Senate to do whatever they can to slow this bill down because the House would sustain the president's veto.
Well, what's your take on those that believe Freddie and Fannie should be broken up in the future to compete in the private sector?
Absolutely. That's what we should do. What we have been told in the House is that Freddie and Fannie are too big to fail. Well, this bill made Frankenstein 2 times larger because now Freddie and Fannie will be even larger. There is no incentive for banks to not drop their dogs, their worst loans, on the backs of the American taxpayer. We could potentially be kicking the can down the road so that we have a bigger problem with Freddie and Fannie down the road. We should not pass this bill. It's a terrible bill for the American taxpayer.
Congresswoman Bachmann, do all of these bailouts, Bear Stearns, Freddie Mae, Freddie Mac, do they represent a major setback for you in your goal of really reeling in earmarks and, let's face it, this pork barrel spending that's killing taxpayers?
Well, you couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly what this does. It opens up the taxpayer's checkbook in a way that we have never seen before. We believe that free enterprise works best with private companies, and now we have the federal government becoming the backstop and virtually the insurance company, the insurer of last resort on almost every sector of the financial markets. This is not a good precedent for the American economy.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Bachmann.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
And as the Senate gears up to vote on the House bill, today we want to get a different